After a pretty shocking season for Pep by his standards, finishing 13 points behind champions Liverpool and losing a massive 9 matches, will his new look squad bring him success again, or will it be another disaster? Today, using an updated database so he's got all the new players that they've just signed this summer, Pep will be in charge, but he's going to have to deal with me as his director of football. And I only sign players on data, not on reputation. So I take charge of Man City, and we're doing this 2 ways. The first way, I'm going to use the in-game editor to make Pep Guardiola my assistant manager and put him back in charge. So he'll be doing all the tactics, using his preferred formation and team instructions. But I'll be bringing the players in, and they won't be the type of player that he's used to getting. And then after we complete that, I'm going to take over using my tactics to see if I can do better than Pep Guardiola. So in comes Guardiola as my assistant manager. What a weird world we live in. And bear in mind, there's his 4-3-3, and down here is his preferred team instructions. And he's got a lot of them, so we can kind of see the way he's going to play. So to emphasise this, we put him in charge of all first team matters, such as the training and of course the tactics. And on match day, he takes full control, leaving me to be in charge of transfers and contracts. So by not touching this screen at all, that will default to our assistant manager's chosen style. So it's going to be interesting to see what sort of team he picks and how well they go, because quite often in Football Manager, Pep gets sacked a lot. Now whether he gets sacked or not, I'll be coming back afterwards and trying to do better than him. If he wins the treble, I'm in the mud straight away. But I'm going to try and help him as best I can with some signings. But first off, we need to get through to the end of the season to see how he does with his current squad. So you will notice the start date here is the 3rd of June 2024. That's because we are using an updated database, so real results, and that's why you can see City finishing in 3rd position. All the databases used today will be in the description below. That includes the squad update, so you've got all new Man City players such as Aït-Nouri from Wolves and Shirky from Lyon. So for season 1, I'm going to reject all offers, and now I'm going to fast forward till the end of this season, so late May, and then we'll see how Guardiola does. Only then can we judge the players on the data.
Of course, yes.
Pep's season in charge comes to an end, and you have to say it's a very successful one as they regain the Premier League title, winning it by 6 points from Liverpool. However, there was disappointment in the Champions League as they were destroyed 5-0 in the first leg by Barcelona, and despite beating them 2-1 in the return leg, they went out 6-2 in the quarterfinals. Also got out the quarterfinals of the Emirates Cup to West Ham and the Carabao Cup in the 3rd round to Chelsea. Still a successful season, but you've got to believe it could have been a bit better. So I was having a look at his squad and what he's done. If we go to appearance order, you can see the usual suspects. He's tried and trusted. He used Gvardiol, Ake, Foden, Edison, Bernardo Silva. Gundogan got a huge amount of starts at 42. Now he played Gundogan mostly as an advanced playmaker, sometimes a Mazzala, and if you look at his attacking midfield, you can see what he was using him for. He was like ticking the game over. Progressive passes are really high, passes completed, assists are good. Didn't win the ball back a great deal, but you don't expect that, do you? Still, I'm quite surprised at the amount of games he did play. Now, someone like Haaland obviously played every match he was available, and he bagged 33 goals, great performance. Used him mostly as a poacher or advanced forward, so one of the two. Now, I'll go into the squad in more detail shortly to find out who we're going to get rid of and where we could potentially strengthen, but I did notice that the new players, he didn't use them much. Tijani Reinders, I mean, he played 438 minutes. That's it. To be fair, when he got on the pitch, he looked really good, but he didn't play. It was even worse for Ryan Shirky, who played a grand total of 1 hour the entire season. It didn't get much better for Marmoush either. The player with the most game time of the newbies was Aït-Nouri, who played 7 times from the start, clocked over 1,000 minutes, and actually looked pretty good when he played. Now, like we thought he would, Guardiola played the 4-3-3 in every match, and to be fair, it gave him plus 33 clear-cut chances, so it clearly worked. Now, with the 4-3-3 Guardiola style in FM, it's interesting to look at the defenders. So someone like Ruben Dias, I would expect him, who had a pretty good season, although didn't win the ball back as much, in fact hardly ever. He was playing as a libero. Pep, mate, I think you got that a bit wrong. So if he's playing as libero nearly every match, the other centre-back who started alongside him, I'm guessing it was Ake. There he is. A better performance in terms of pressures, but where was he playing? Inverted fullback or ball-playing defender? So it looks like they've got an inverted fullback on the left, ball-playing defender with a libero, The right hand side, it looks like it was a combination of Rico Lewis and John Stones, and from a defensive point of view, he was actually pretty solid, Rico Lewis. He was playing inverted fullbacks, so we're going to have double inverted fullbacks for Guardiola, a libero and a ball playing defender. So Phil Foden played most of his football in central midfield, so where did he play when he was central midfield? Mazzala when Foden played central midfield. Jeremy Doku played 19 matches up front, so he was the used sub for Haaland, but when he played on the left hand side, he was an out and out winger. In FM world, Jack Grealish is a starter on the left or on the right, and when he played, he was an inverted winger. So I can kind of piece together the roles that he's playing, so that's going to help me in the transfer market. Now I had made a couple of moves already because I want to lower this squad age down, and these are the guys coming in. Goncalo Anacio, probably not a surprise, a class player, but he is available on a free transfer. His contract's running out, and as you can see from his defensive performance, outstanding this season in Portugal. Another young defender is Samson Baido from Salzburg, 6'2". Another young defender coming in because I'm trying to lower down this squad age because there is quite an age of defenders in the Man City squad. Is Samson Baido. And a different type of fullback, Miguel Gutierrez. I fully expect him to be a more attacking type to give Guardiola a different option. Now, Ederson is 33, he's got a couple of years left on his contract, he had a pretty good season. It'll be no surprise that his passing was out of this world, only slightly bettered by, believe it or not, James Trafford over at Bolton. And in terms of advanced goalkeeping, he was pretty good as well, with a good save percentage, and he stopped a pretty decent amount of goals. In fact, the only guys better than him was the two Liverpool goalkeepers of Alisson and Mamadashvili, but I'm guessing he didn't play much. Now, we had a quick look at the centre-backs, didn't we? And Ruben Dias, I was initially quite surprised that his defensive performance wasn't great, but then I find out he's playing as a libero, and that pie chart for a libero is pretty elite. Now, Akanji played in 3 different positions all the way across the back 4. As a centre-back, he was pretty damn fantastic, to be fair to him. When he played at full-back, solid if unspectacular, but as a centre-back, he was pretty good. My only concern about Akanji is he's 31. John Stones split his time between centre-back and full-back. At centre-back, again, superb. So he's going to be playing the ball-playing defender role if Dias was playing the libero role, and he's pretty damn good. As a full-back, less spectacular going forward, but solid enough. Same story for Josko, half in the centre, half out left. And you have to say, whenever any of them play centre-back, like the normal centre-back role, they've been fantastic. So performance-wise, in terms of centre-backs, we don't need to change anything. They've been fantastic. It's just their age. 3 or 4 of them are getting over 30 now. So these lot coming in is a perfect move. No surprise to see that Rodri was the starting defensive midfielder. When he played there, he played as a defensive midfielder. That was his role. And when you look at it, the progressive passes are there. The headers won is there. Not surprising at 6'3". Probably like to see a bit more possession won back, to be honest. Now, he didn't really have a backup that Guardiola seemed to trust. Peroni didn't play. Kovacic didn't play. In fact, the guy that played the most as backup to Rodri was Calvin Phillips. And he didn't have a great time in terms of winning the ball back. So that will be a focus to improve this squad, an out-and-out ball-winning defensive midfielder to back up Rodri. Because Pep clearly does not fancy Nico Gonzalez at all, with 200 minutes all season. Now, we saw Gundogan, but he is 36, so if I make him available for transfer, that might sway Pep to actually give Reinders a go. Another good season for Bernardo Silva with 23 goal involvements, more on the attacking side. He actually played most of the time as an attacking midfielder on the right-hand side. Normally, I'd keep him in a heartbeat. However, at 32 years of age and interest from Saudi, he could be one we cash in on if we get a bid close to that. And maybe that'll encourage Savio to actually get a game, or Oscar Bob, who when he did play last season came in with 15 goal contributions from only 15 starts. He deserves a bigger role. Obviously, we're not going to replace Erling, but AI Pep clearly does not want to give Marmoush a go despite him looking good in his limited minutes. Look, it's a bloody elite squad, but what I'm going to concentrate on is making some harsh decisions around age. Get some of them out, such as Gundogan, maybe Akanji, freshen it up with some younger, exciting signings. Because clearly, if they'd won the league, there's not a lot wrong, but that performance in the Champions League wasn't great. So the barometer for this backup central midfielder for Rodri is possession 1, and the top-ranked defensive midfielder in our league was Tyler Adams with 11. He's too old for us at 28, so I'm not going to consider him. What that does mean though, when I go to look for my defensive midfielder in the player search, I can drop that in there. Possession 1 per 90 minutes is at least 11. Instantly, Brazilian Alexander comes up, who's had 14 assists and 4 goals, alongside winning the ball back an absolute ton. A more pricey option is Alan Varela, wins the ball back a ton at Porto. But the player I'm going to bid for is Angelo Stiller at Stuttgart. Defensive midfielder at 6 foot, wins the ball back, doesn't give it away, but is good on the ball as well. When you look at his abilities, you can see there's some big standouts in terms of his passing and his technique that go alongside the fact he can win the ball back. When looking for a backup striker to Haaland, I need to think about it carefully because someone like Santiago Jimenez, who's a great player, he's not going to play much, so that amount of money might be a bit silly. Another option is to get a youngster like Jason Van Duijven, who's at Lommel with an outrageous goal scoring record and he gets a ton of shots away per match. Or maybe the absolute beast that is Emmanuel Kenny Omega. The fourth option was Samu Omradian from Porto, but again 28 to 36 million. Will he play much? Very tempting. Throughout this off-season we're getting offered some big time players. But instead I stuck to my guns and went for younger, lesser known players. The first two in were Stiller for defensive midfield and Jason Van Duijven. And my quest to bring a more youthful vibe to Man City continued with the signing of Trincao from Sporting for 30 million. And my other four signings came in. 2 centre-backs in Baido, Anacho, an attacking fullback in Gutierrez and defensive midfielder Alexander. And with all that going on, we also raked in a ton of money. As out went Bernardo Silva, Manuel Akanji and Jack Grealish. They all went to Saudi. I was offered Jadon Sancho on a free transfer, but I turned it down. Another 30-plus-year-old lefters as Calvin Phillips joined Liverpool, and Ake jumped on the Saudi train as well, meaning I'd now brought in over 200 million by freshening up the squad. So after a busy old time, this is the squad I'm giving to Guardiola now. There's still a bit of experience in there with the likes of Stones, Rodri, Ruben Dias, but I've brought that age down, and by getting rid of some players like Gundogan, I'm hoping he gives a chance to some players that have been brought in real life this summer. We shall see. So he needs to better his performance last season, otherwise I'm going to look like a bit of a mug. And things started off quite well in the Community Shield as Trincao scored the winner. And things were looking better in the Champions League as we got a good league win away at Inter with plenty of the new players getting involved. We scored a big 4-1 win over Chelsea thanks to Stiller, one of our new signings. And at this point the new Manchester City sits second in the table, but I noticed something a little bit worrying. Star midfielder Rodri was unhappy because Pep has gone mental. For some reason he keeps leaving him out. When I signed Stiller, I didn't expect him to make as many starts as he had. The other player who's played a lot has been Gutierrez, and interestingly, despite him being more of an attacking wing-back, Pep has not shifted, he's still playing him as an inverted full-back. So by hook or by crook, Pep will continue to play this 4-3-3 possession game, even if it doesn't get the results. But in the Carabao Cup final, it really did work as they dismantled league leaders Newcastle 6-1. And they also made the FA Cup final, and last season's forgotten man, Nico Gonzalez, actually got some game time. 2 trophies out of 2 so far, but alas, despite a wobble from Newcastle near the end, they managed to hold on and take the league title by 5 points. However, this new young Man City team struck against Barcelona. If you remember, they absolutely destroyed City last season, but this season, revenge was sweet. As a Marmoush goal and 2 from Nico Gonzalez as this new young team battered Barcelona, which meant PSG in the final. Now a lot of the new players got involved in this one. There's Rico Lewis who finds Alexander, who finds Stiller, who finds Phil Foden to give us the lead. Then PSG equalised in the 69th minute, sending the game to penalties. And it was Marquinhos who missed the vital penalty, smashing the crossbar, which left Phil Foden to claim the Champions League for City. So 3 cups for Guardiola using my squad, but he misses out on the league. Where do you sit on that? Have we done better than he did with his squad? Now what's interesting is because I gave him more options, more of the squad played. If you ever played Man City from the start of the game before any databases, they've actually got quite a small first team squad. Now they had players like Samson Baido here, who ended up playing 19 matches, 16 off the bench, so he played a ton of matches. And getting rid of all those players, the older players, helped get Oscar Bob and players like that into the team more of a focal point. So I think it's a success. Now under Guardiola, they won the league in the first season and they've just won a cup treble in his second season. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the squad I built for him at the start of this season and I'm going to put my tactic in and I'm going to try and win the league and the other cups. So back at the start of the season, and it's clear we've built this squad with Pep Guardiola's favoured tactic in mind, that 4-3-3. And for the first time in this save, I blow the cobwebs off the tactical screen and we're actually going to use it. Okay, so this was a season where we scored an absolute ton of goals. And it was nice to get to use Marmoush as a shadow striker, probably his perfect position. I used him a lot off the bench, but he got a lot of game time from me. Like I said, a ton of big wins, including this one against Napoli, where 5 of my boys scored in the match. Poor Ipswich got destroyed in the EFL Cup final, and unbelievably we met them again in the FA Cup final. They took us to penalties, but big libero himself, Ruben Dias, smashed in the winner. So we're neck and neck with Guardiola here, but our dreams of a Champions League treble were dashed as Liverpool knocked us out. But a ton of impressive performances in the Premier League meant that we did get a treble by winning the Premier League with 100 goals scored. It was great to see that Trincao, Bernardo Silva's replacement, had a stunning impact with 42 goal contributions. Stiller was so good he got loads of game time, as did Goncalo. So did we beat Guardiola's treble?